Hey guys, and welcome back to Tremor Trails. If it looks like the same scene from a video you've seen, that's because it is. But I wanted to spend a couple of minutes and talk about what is the EMHT? How did we get the EMHT? Really, what is it all about? And there's not a better person to really ask than the gentleman right next to me. He is one of the founders. He's very humble about it, but you know, he was very intricate in making this thing, along with Bill and Billy Creech as well. I just wanted to kind of introduce John Marnell to you guys, and let's talk about what is the EMHT and why am I doing all these videos about it, because I'm so excited about the darn thing. First of all, thanks for coming and hanging out with me, John. It has been a blast. Me and the wife have enjoyed having your company for the past couple of days. How did the EMHT even start?
Well, the EMHT started as a result of the success of the reopening of the Mojave Road. Dennis Casebier was in the Marine Corps, 29 Palms, started exploring the desert as a youngster. He would drive around and find these old roads and maps and things, and he developed a real interest. Upon getting out of the Marine Corps, he went to work for the Navy as a physicist. And part of his job was going back to Washington, D.C. on occasion, and he had spare time, so he went to the National Archives, discovered the Mojave Road, traced it out with the actual route of the Mojave Road, which was a supply route from Los Angeles to Fort Mojave on the Colorado River. One thing led to another, and he walked this Mojave Road best he could. He drove it, took friends on it, and it finally became a four-wheel drive adventure trail, 135 miles from the Colorado River to almost to Barstow, California. Ended at a place called Camp Katy, which is one of the military outposts on the Mojave Road, and that was the practical end for travel. It got a lot of use. There was a mailbox out on the Mojave Road and a sign-in book, and the use got really, really high. And so in the late 1980s, Dennis decided, well, if this road gets too much use, it might get shut down. So let's develop an alternate route. So Dennis and a fellow named Neil Johns and Bob Martin put their heads together and found a whole series of dirt roads, existing dirt roads that were ranch roads, mining roads, well-used roads, roads that never saw much travel. And they put together a 660-mile loop, starting and ending in Needles, divided into four segments of about 150, 160 miles each. And they published a guidebook to each section. So each section of the Mojave Heritage Trail has its own guidebook. And so it started getting a lot of use. It was completed in about 1990, 91, but then this whole East Mojave Desert became part of the Mojave National Preserve.
Correct.
And the Mojave Preserve created a lot of wilderness areas that cut the Heritage Trail in a number of places, making it really unusable. So it stayed that way until recently.
I think some people might get confused between the Mojave Road and the Hertitage Trail. Mm-hmm. Can you just clarify the two differences real fast?
Yeah.
Or tell us the history of
the
Mojave Road?
Mojave Road was actually established as a trade route, formal trade route between, like I said, the Colorado River and Los Angeles. And that was rediscovered on old maps by walking, by spending a lot of time in the desert. The Indians initially was the Indian route to get to the coast for trade between the Mojave Indians on the river. So the trail actually started with the Native Americans and progressed from there. Whereas the Hertitage Trail is nothing like that. It is a series of dirt roads connecting points of interest as they were discovered or rediscovered by Dennis and his friends.
Yeah, I think a lot of people might know the Mojave Road, or have heard of the Mojave Road, and I was a little confused in the beginning myself until I started researching the EMHT. So the Mojave Road is, while it's a cool road and there's some stuff on there, it's kind of just a straight dirt kind of road, you know? It's not really a wheeling road. Whereas the EMHT is, you know, if you want to do some technical stuff and still find some beautiful things, that's what the EMHT is. Mm-hmm. Because you are down in it for hours, scraping, scratching your paint off, hearing your shocks scream bloody murder, praying your tires hold on. And then there's moments or hours of peacefulness driving just through a massive valley surrounded by mountains. I'm sorry that I nerd out on it so much, guys, but the EMHT is such a cool trail. I just can't state it enough because it has everything. I mean, it really does. If you're a guy that likes to wheel, then you can do the wheeling things. If you're an overlander like me and the wife that love to go from point A to point B and not be bothered, it has that. It just pretty much has everything.
You need to be prepared.
Oh, well, you definitely.
Gasoline is an issue. You need to check out where the gasoline is available.
100%. That's some great points. So maybe let's talk about that real fast. Say somebody, okay, let's do the EMHT. What are the basic necessities before somebody should ever start this trail?
I think what you need to do is you have to understand that it is remote. You will go, we have been days on the trail without seeing anybody.
Yeah.
Help is not nearby.
No.
You have to be self-reliant, confident in your vehicle. Your vehicle needs to be in top shape. You need to have a full-size spare tire. There's a lot of rocks to drive over. You need to plan your trip based on the capabilities of your vehicle. How far can I go on a tank of gas? Do I carry extra gas? Are my tires in good shape? My spare? Do I have a jack? 2 jacks perhaps?
Yeah.
Like today, a bottle jack would have really been a useful tool with the stuck situation we had.
Yeah, we got stuck today. If you watched the previous video, I turtled out on a wash, and luckily he had the winch. I couldn't use my winch because of the way I was facing. I did have a bottle jack on the truck. That was kind of our last resort. Luckily he had the winch so we could back me up out of there. I don't know if you necessarily need a winch, but it sure is not a bad idea, guys. And probably another thing is, unless you're really confident in what you're doing, I wouldn't do it solo. You know, it's kind of like, you know, do as I say, don't do as I do. Me and the wife have done this whole trip solo except for this final section with John. And thank God we had John, because we'd still be stacking rocks right now and, you know, trying to pull the truck off of that turtle. I don't want to scare people away, but you need to be confident in your driving skills. This is not an expert trail by any stretch, but it is a challenging and grueling trail. And you know, like today, for example, we did over 8 hours and we got how far? 68 miles?
Yeah, about 68 miles.
In 8.5 hours. So it's a grind, it's a grueling thing, but at the same time, it's so rewarding, guys. It is, I don't know where else you can get in America where you are so alone and it still feels like this is what it was like in the 1500s. You know, every once in a while, you'll see a highline power pole, or you might see a telephone pole, or you might see an obscure rancher out here somewhere. But for the most part, this is extremely remote stuff. The way I found out about the EMHT was me and the wife were doing a trail out in Lake Havasu. And I didn't know a whole lot about the region. This was early on as we started doing the overlanding thing. And the trail that I came down actually butted up into section 4 of the EMHT. And I was like, what is this EMHT thing? Looking at the map, it was like, my God, this trail goes on forever. What is this? And so that's when we started doing research, and that's actually how we ran into John. Was we were looking at trying to get these books, because when we first started the EMHT, we didn't have the books. We did section 1 without any books or even the supplement guides. And I really wouldn't recommend that. All I had was my Onyx map, and I was lost everywhere. On top of that, I missed a lot of cool stuff. So I'm not necessarily trying to sell you guys the book, but not only are the books beautiful and well detailed, they're really going to get you around from point A to point B.
They really are. They're a mile by mile, turn by turn guide. It'll tell you to go 1.2 miles and make a right. If you didn't know that, you may continue straight, be off the trail completely, and not have a clue.
It is easy to get lost out here, guys. I mean, it really is. I'm trying to think of what this might be to other places that we've traveled. If you guys watch any of our videos, we've been a lot of places, especially in the West. And I don't know of a place where you can get as easily lost as out here. The trails are two-track for the majority. There are some smooth roads or some pipeline roads that you have to interweave to get to the next spot, but a lot of the trail it doesn't look like a trail.
It doesn't.
You are just out in the desert or you're climbing a mountain somewhere. If you do buy the books, it's not like some guys making profit off of that, right? Isn't
That's
it?
right.
It's
That's
a
right.
non-profit organization. Is it Friends of the Mojave?
It
Or
is
it
the Mojave Road.
the Mojave Road? And you can go there and you can get those books. And of course those proceeds go to help probably fund more of keeping the trail up, or maybe Goff Schoolhouse, certain
That's
things
right.
like that.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's not like a dude sitting in his garage collecting money from these books or anything.
There's if you go to the Mojave Road website, you'll find history of the East Mojave Heritage Trail, the Mojave Road, and the other things happening at Goff's Cultural Center in Goffs, California. Where's Goffs? Goffs is 30 miles west of Needles, just off of I-40.
Right.
And they have a wonderful little museum there, open certainly on weekends throughout the year.
Lots of old mining equipment out there.
Lots of nice displays.
And one of the other side notes, because he mentions Goff is on historical Route 66, and 66 kind of weaves its way all through the Heritage Trail. Every now and then, it's like, oh, we're back on the original Route 66 for a half a mile, and then you're back off into the dirt. You know, going out to Amboy is one of those spots. You know,
Yeah.
it's original Route 66. So if you're into that history stuff, which I am, I love history. All of the mines out here, the massive mines we saw in Section 3. What was the big one? Vulcan?
The Vulcan Mine.
The Vulcan Mine. Man, what a massive mine. If you guys watched the second section that we did, that first big mine, that was a massive gold mine. I went blank on the name, right?
Coliseum Mine.
The Coliseum Mine. I mean, so there's tons of mining history out here as well. Kind of like Colorado, the San Juans, where that's all mining history. It's the same thing out here, only it's, you know, desert mining, if you will.
The guidebooks that we referred to earlier, the Ford guidebooks, have maps, and they were valid in their period up until 1994. And that's why the supplement that Billy Creech has put together guides you around the closed areas. You don't have to worry about getting caught in wilderness area. On the Mojave Road website, under EMHT, is a GPS file, GPX and KML for Google
Right.
Earth, of the route, of the approved route on that website. You can download it, get the supplement guide, pay the postage, and we'll mail you a supplement guide with the correct and legal aspects of the trail.
Right.
OnX has a copy of that.
Yeah, and that's what we use. We downloaded from the website. We downloaded that GPX file onto our OnX, and with that file that he's referring to, it has every waypoint out here, even the side trips, because you'll find that there's a few sections where you might drive 8 or 9 miles out of the way to go see a cool feature that's not part of the original EMHT. And so that GPX file has all of that stuff on it. So download that for sure. At least what I found is I would ask my wife, hey, what is this right here? And she'd be like, I don't know. And then we'd have to get into the supplemental guides or the books and go, oh, this is the Orange Blossom Mine. It was one of the largest mines in the country, you know, in 18 blah, 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 blah. A train ran through here. I mean, all kinds of cool stuff that you learn throughout all the books.
And something to consider, yesterday when I was meeting TJ up by the Bonanza King mine,
Yeah.
my GPS screen went black. I knew there was a turn coming up. I've been out a lot. I didn't know exactly where the turn was, but if you've never been out here and your GPS, something happens to it, you need to have a backup plan.
That's a great point. I mean, John literally mapped this trail with a couple other guys, Billy and Bill. I mean, and so if he can possibly get lost, then, you know, I don't stand a chance. So if my phone went dead and I lost my OnX, you know, those supplemental guides and the books are going to get me from point A to point B.
And that is correct. The books are the big thing. The supplemental guide gets you around the wilderness areas, but it doesn't take you turn by turn.
Right.
Where to go left, where to go right, 1.2 miles, turn right in the wash, 2.4 miles. So the books would really save you if your GPS went bad.
Right. I don't know where else in the country to describe the navigation aspect of this trail. What you find out here is you'll be on a 2-trek out in the middle of a pasture, and then all of a sudden it turns 90 degrees and heads towards a mountain, where there's still another like pipeline road or something going the direction you just were. And so if you don't know where you are or how to navigate, I promise you, you're going to get lost. When we did section 1, we got lost within the first couple of miles. I was up in some wash, you know, somewhere where I wasn't supposed to be, but it looked like it was kind of a trail. The supplements are to the books. The books tell you how to get from point A to point B, and then where we lost, because remember the original books were done with the original trail, where those trails get lost in the wilderness. Now the supplemental books pick up there. You know, you're on page 310 and all of a sudden you see a wilderness boundary. What do? Well, the supplemental guide picks that up and shows you how to legally get around from point A to point B. John's different from most people. He likes it out here in the summer. I don't know if I personally recommend being out here in the summer, but I guess if you do, bring lots and lots of water.
And in November, late November, bring lots and lots of clothes.
That's true. We are out here at the very, very tail end of November, almost into December. The days are perfect. This is my favorite time to be out here, but at night it does get chilly. And not to scare people, we just want to pound it home that there are inherent risks with this trail, but don't let that deter you. Just be smart, just have common sense. Unfortunately, we've lost quite a few people on this trail from exposure. They either broke down, they didn't have enough water, they didn't have a sat phone or GPS, you know. Just be smart about it, guys, but don't let that deter you from getting out here because it is such a great time. This is true wheeling and overlanding.
Bring a buddy.
That's probably the best advice you can give. Just bring somebody else. So what I love about the way that this was set up by Dennis is that you have sections, obviously. And usually 2 to 3 days, I say, would be a safe bet to get through a section.
I would say 2 to 3 days. Plan at least 2 nights camping.
At least.
And depends on your interest and your speed and your side trips. Faster you go, the more risk you have for a flat tire. And know where you are.
Right.
Know what parts of the Hertitage Trail you can bail out on and get to a paved road.
Right. What I was getting at with the way that I like how it was built out in sections is, you know, from point A to point B, from the beginning of the trail to the end of the trail is X amount of miles. And where they dump you off at is at a gas station. So each of the sections practically end at a gas station so you can fill up. But every chance that you have to top off the tank, I do it personally. Even though, what is it, Fenner's very expensive.
Ludlow
wasn't too bad, but it was still
almost
expensive.
$8.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's going to be expensive, obviously, but when you get to gas, fill up. I mean, you just got to kind of have to, I think.
People have done the entire Hertitage Trail in one effort, from start to finish.
Yeah, so Billy probably has the record. Would you say 7 days?
I think 7 to 8 days, yes. He had car trouble. His pace was pretty good. And as you can imagine, the increased pace increases the risk for car trouble.
And that's cooking it, guys. Like I just said, we did, what, 8.5 hours today, and we got 68 miles, something like that. And we weren't we weren't slow rolling it. We were doing 15, 10, sometimes 30 miles per hour when we could.
Sometimes 3.
And a lot of times 3. So just plan accordingly. I personally would not recommend somebody trying to do all 4 sections at one go.
It's a terribly difficult effort.
Yeah. I mean, it can be done, but how miserable do you want to be? That's the thing about the EMHT, is it will beat you up, but at the same time show you some incredible things about the desert. Well, other than that, you got anything else?
No, I think that pretty well covers it from our point of view.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for being a part of this whole thing, John, and you know, tell Billy and Bill hello for me and thank them.
I will.
Well. And you guys go check out the books if you're interested, or check out some more of the videos that we did about all the sections on EMHT. I believe Onyx even has a video about EMHT that they put out a few months ago. So it's starting to get a lot more notice, and that's really the whole reason that I wanted to do this video, was to introduce you to, you know, one of the guys behind the scenes that is responsible for letting us have this awesome, incredible overlanding trail, and just try and get more people to know or understand what the EMHT is all about, because I'm telling you guys, once you get out here and experience it, it is such a beautiful blast of a trail. From here, we're gonna go hang out.
Yeah. Oh,
we'll see you guys next time.
My neck. That was well said. And there's the moon.